Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, veterans, veteran support organizations, and service members of the United States Armed Forces, distinguished first responders, esteemed elected and appointed officials, civic and community leaders, and Chambers of Commerce board members and fellow representatives from the South Fulton and Fayette County boards, public servants, educators, and entrepreneurs from the state of Georgia and the Atlanta metropolitan region, and to the students, cadets, staff, faculty, colleagues, friends, family members, and supporters of Georgia Military College, good afternoon. And on behalf of Lieutenant General William B. Colwell IV, the 21st President of Georgia Military College, welcome to GMC's 6th Annual Veterans Day Recognition Ceremony, sponsored by the Atlanta metropolitan region and specifically the GMC Fayetteville, GMC Fairburn, GMC Stone Mountain, and GMC Zebulon campuses. Honoring today our military veterans and families who have served and who continue to serve in the United States Armed Forces. I'm Brigadier General Rock Donahue, the Executive Director of the Atlanta metropolitan region, and again, the Fayetteville, Fairburn, Stone Mountain, Zebulon campuses. And I'm honored to serve as your Master of Ceremonies for today's virtual event, conducted in accordance with the current executive orders from the Governor of the state of Georgia and the public health state of emergency in response to COVID-19, including parameters for gatherings and social distancing that remain in effect until December 9th. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we know from chapter 3, verse 3 of the book of Ecclesiastes, that to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heavens. Throughout our nation this week, as we salute our veterans, we are indeed in a season of reflection and remembrance, and today is a time for recognizing and honoring those who serve. As we celebrate and honor veterans at this ceremony today, because we are worthy of the values and ideals for which they sacrificed. We are worthy of their courage in the face of fear that few will ever experience. We honor their commitment and devotion to duty and country. We do this in gratitude for their sacrifice and for their noble service. Veterans Day, not to be confused with National Armed Forces Day or Memorial Day, is an official United States federal holiday traditionally honoring military veterans who have served honorably in the United States Armed Forces. Observed annually on November 11th, it coincides with other holidays, including Armistice Day and Remembrance Day, which are celebrated in other parts of the world. And it also marks the anniversary of the end of World War I, when major hostilities were formally ended on the 11th hour of the 11th day, the 11th month of 1918, when the armistice with Germany went into effect. Then U.S. President Woodrow Wilson first proclaimed Armistice Day for November 11th, 1919, declaring, and I quote, "To us in America, the reflections of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service and with gratitude for the victory, both because of the thing from which it has freed us and because of the opportunity it has given America to show her sympathy with peace and justice in the councils of the nations," end quote. Well, thereafter in 1945, World War II veteran Raymond Weeks from Birmingham, Alabama, later referred to by President Ronald Reagan as the father of Veterans Day, he led a delegation to General Dwight D. Eisenhower to garner Ike's support to expand Armistice Day to celebrate all veterans, not just those who died in World War I. 9 years later, on May 26, 1954, then President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed a bill into law establishing a National Armistice Day recognizing all veterans. Congress then amended the bill on June 1st, 1954, replacing the word armistice with the word veterans, and it has been known ever since as Veterans Day, celebrated as a legal federal holiday on November 11th in commemoration of and as a tribute to the men and women who have served in the United States Armed Forces. Veterans Day 2020 also marks the 102nd anniversary of Armistice Day and the culmination of World War I, when U.S. President Wilson announced the ending of the war to end all wars. As GMC campuses are closed tomorrow afternoon, November 11th, we are gathered here today, virtually on November 10th, to salute and to pay tribute to our nation's veterans. I do want to take just a few moments to welcome and thank those who are directly supporting or participating in today's ceremony. Many you will see or hear from as the ceremony progresses. Chief Apostle Antonio D. Cummings from the Kingdom Life Center in Fayetteville. Antonio's a veteran and retiree from the United States Marine Corps and a former GMC Fayetteville enrollment officer. Lisa Delk in the Honor Guard, Marine Corps League Major Stephen W. Pless, Medal of Honor, Detachment 1196. Thank you for supporting today's ceremony, and most importantly, happy 245th birthday, Marines. Hoorah! How about that? And most significantly this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, our keynote speaker, Brigadier General Becky Halstead, United States Army retired, who I will formally introduce to you later in the program. Thank you, Becky, for being with us today. I also want to thank our Corps of Cadets, our main campus in Milledgeville, for attending today's ceremony, as well as GMC Information Technology and the GMC Fayetteville hosting campus for their dedicated support and coordination to make this virtual event a reality. And finally, I want to welcome and recognize my wife, Nancy, who's here with us today, my life partner for over 37 years, a career Army wife and Army mom, and now a fully engaged Army grandma of 8 and soon to be 9 grandchildren. And with our son currently deployed to Afghanistan and our daughter-in-law and son-in-law all serving as field grade officers in the United States Army today, and with our oldest daughter as an 8-year veteran Army nurse and our family now having served 15 combat tours in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria since the global war on terror began in 2001, including my son and I serving together in combat in Iraq from 2008 to 2009. It goes without saying, ladies and gentlemen, that Nancy has been and continues to be the true rock in the Donahue household and the senior chief of staff for our veteran family for nearly 40 years. I was just given approval to move forward. Well, to all of you today, attending out there virtually and here at the GMC Fayetteville campus, please accept my sincere personal thanks for being here today and for making this ceremony such a memorable milestone in the legacy of Georgia Military College, especially here in the greater Atlanta metropolitan region. You know, the sense and significance of this occasion here this afternoon is indeed very special, certainly not lost on me, and I hope it's not lost in any of you, as I can see and almost virtually feel the camaraderie, the patriotism, and genuine support from all of you for our veterans and for their families. Your presence at this ceremony signifies the value that you place on men and women who serve selflessly and honorably in service to their communities and to their country, and whose devotion to duty to the preservation of safety, security, human dignity, and personal freedom often results in noble causes for which they willingly give a last full measure of devotion. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, if you are able, please stand for the invocation given by Chief Apostle Antonio Cummings, and please remain standing for the presentation of colors by the Honor Guard of Marine Corps League Detachment 1196 and the singing of our national anthem by Marine Corps veteran and paymaster of Marine Corps League Detachment 1196, Lisa Delk.
Let us pray. Oh, Eternal Father, thank you for another day allowing us to be here, to be present. You are omnipresent. You are everywhere at the same time. So we take time out of this day to be here. Thank you now for all those who have served and that are yet serving. Thank you now for all the sacrifices made by the families, the wives, the husband, the children. Thank you now, God, for those who made the ultimate sacrifice. But we now say we are here, and we're ever so grateful, so honored to be here for this special occasion. And we thank you for the GMC family. We thank you for all those that are participating in this occasion on today. knowing that without you, we would be nothing. But with you, we are more than conquerors. So we are here, and we are ever so grateful for our lives. So now breathe on this occasion, that it be memorable and never forgotten, that with you, we can truly do all things through Christ that gives us the strength. And we thank you now for this special occasion, this Veterans Day. Amen.
And honor guard, poof!
Praise and colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we've watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order. Colors. Ready, cut. Focus. And salute. Order. Out. Ready, cut. Out time. Out. Right, left, out. Forward, march. March, time, march. Right, left, out. Out, off. Order. On. Ready, cut.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. It is now my distinct honor and privilege to introduce our keynote speaker, my friend and mentor for many years during our military service together, Brigadier General Becky Halstead, United States Army retired. General Halsted is a 1981 graduate of the United States Military Academy and achieved the historic milestone as the first female graduate of West Point to be promoted to general officer. She was the senior commanding general for logistics in Iraq and was the first female in United States history to command in combat at the strategic level. In this capacity, General Halstead was responsible for leading over 200 multidisciplinary units, 20,000 military and 5,000 civilians, located across 55 different bases, providing supply, maintenance, transportation, and distribution support to over 250,000 personnel serving in Iraq. During her active service, General Halstead served in Europe as the Deputy Commanding General, the 21st Theater Support Command, and has experience leading a multinational team in wholesale level logistic operations. And prior to her assignment in Europe, she served as the Chief Advisor to the Combatant Commander for United States Southern Command, whose responsibility encompassed military training and operations for South America. General Halstead was also responsible for coordinating directly with high-level organizations such as Office of the Secretary of Defense, Joint Chiefs of Staff, Department of State, U.S. Congress, U.S. ambassadors, and equivalent foreign military and civilian organizations. Culmination of General Halstead's career came in 2006, when she became the first female Chief of Ordnance and the Commanding General of the Army's Ordnance Center and Schools, responsible for the leader development and institutional training for the second largest branch in the United States Army, with over 100,000 members of the Ordnance Corps. Following her 27 years of dedicated selfless service to our nation, General Halstead retired from the Army as a general officer in 2008, and thereafter founded her own leader consultancy company, Steadfast Leadership. General Halstead specializes in inspirational motivational speaking, developing leader training programs, leader coaching and mentoring. She has provided hundreds of keynote speeches and leadership training to the corporate and academic sectors at both the national and international levels. She is a recipient of the National Women's History Project Award for Generations of Women Moving History Forward, and is a member of the Ordnance Corps Hall of Fame. General Halstead is also a member of the West Point Thayer Hotel Room Dedication Program for distinguished graduates, and was the subject of the Harvard Business Case Leadership Study, Steadfast Leadership. She is also in the New Jersey Women Hall of Fame, and is the author of 24/7, The First Person You Must Lead Is You. I also want to say that in December of 2000, General Halstead gave me this little book right here, God's Little Devotion Book for Leaders. Long time ago. This book has been to Afghanistan, 2 tours in Iraq, and all over.
Rob?
Hoorah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am distinctly honored and privileged to introduce to you our keynote speaker, dedicated war veteran, friend, mentor, and inspired leader, and distinguished author, Brigadier General Becky Halstead.
Thank you, General Donahue. I almost don't know what to say. When you pulled that book out, I think I got tears on this end like you did on that end. It seems like yesterday in so many ways, but it's been a while, I know, especially since we've seen each other. But General Donahue, thank you for putting this together today. And I'm just going to call you Rock because it's a whole lot easier for me. And thank you, Nancy, for being there, always being there for not just the Donahue family, but for all military families and all of us veterans. You know, the easy way out of this today, because we have to do a virtual, would be just not to do it. But that's not Rock's style, and that's not anybody that's participating style. So I just love that you put the energy into this and you put this together, because there'll be some moment in this hour that will remain with a participant for a long, long time. I have no doubt about it. So yeah, I thank you for this opportunity. So a big shout out to the GMC family, and maybe one of these days I'll actually get there and get to meet many of you in person and hear your stories. So I'm going to multitask today. I'm going to try to share a few pictures and slides here just while I speak, so that I think when we do photographs, sometimes it's just so much more powerful. And so I'm hoping that it's working, and we'll find out in a minute. So mine looks black. In the rehearsal, which we did, there was a picture. Okay, you know, this is what happens. It says I'm screen sharing. So just hang on a second. I'm going to stop sharing. We're going to try that again. Because
Let's try it again, Becky. I think they were just coming up. Let's try again, ma'am.
Yep, I sure will. It's right there. We're going to share. I'm sure it makes a lot of other people feel really good when you mess up like this, because it's good to know that we are all capable of doing that. So we're going to say resume slideshow, because I think it's from our rehearsal. And just hang on a second. We're going to figure this out.
There we
I
go.
think because we were at the very end,
Yes,
who
ma'am.
knew that it would still be there? Here we go, folks. All right. So there we go. Thanks, Rock. Appreciate that. Thanks for coming back in and letting me know I wasn't alone on the battlefield, battle buddy. Love it. Okay, so Rock, thanks for giving the history behind Veterans Day, because I think so many of us really don't know the full history. But obviously, this is when it started, right here, 11 a.m. on 11 November 1918. And I love this particular picture of the flag on Veterans Day, and to be part of a ceremony again where the flag is center to all that you're doing, the centerpiece of our formation always, to represent the real centerpiece, which is the human dimension. And the fact is, no matter which service you were in, I know in the Army what we said is we were willing to die for each other, but more importantly, we are willing to live for each other. And so I just think that that's what we're all about. And so I want to give a huge shout out to the Marines. Hoorah! I have many friends in the Marines. Yeah, happy 245th. You're getting old. But look, I just want you to know there's my Marine Corps coin, okay? So, because I know a whole bunch of you'd be coining me if I was there in person, but I whipped that one out this morning for you specifically. But to all the services, and quite often the Coast Guard gets left out, so I put them right at the very top. Thank you for your service to our nation. And we currently have 18 million veterans that are in our communities, and so we even though many of us are veterans, we need to reach out to veterans, and especially during this time of the COVID epidemic, and so many being isolated. I think we need to make an extra effort to get out there and really touch and reach our fellow veterans. And again, really, Rock hit this, but the real heroes for us as veterans, and I don't like being called a hero. When people do that, I say, please don't, because all of us that are still here and living and telling our stories and telling the stories of our battle buddies, the real heroes for us are our fallen comrades, those who are wounded and having to learn life all over again, and certainly our families. And so Veterans Day is a holiday where we remember all those who have served, but we certainly always put at the top of that to remember the sacrifice of those who gave all. And I just wanted to share a little bit, sometimes you've known a person a long time, or, we look at people and just wonder, I wonder why did they go into the military? Why did they serve? And if you could see me in person, I'm 5'1.5". So I get a lot of people who size me up immediately, like, really? You were in the Army? You were air assault? You did road marches? Yeah, right. Yeah, well, I was 6 foot tall when I came into the military, but they beat me down at West Point to 5'1.5". But so why do you serve? So there's always influences, right? So that's a picture of my dad, who on his 16th birthday, he didn't get along that great with his dad, and he went to his mother and said, please sign this piece of paper. And I don't know if she read it, but he was in the Air Force by the end of the day. And so he went into the Air Force for 4 years. And I never knew him in the Air Force. I just saw his pictures and I saw his uniform. And I can remember being very taken by his service, even though I never witnessed it. He's still living today. He's still sporting that good high and tight Air Force haircut. I knew my Uncle Pete, my great Uncle Pete, and he served in the Navy in World War II. I have his beret that I proudly display at my house. He actually was missing for many, many months. His family was told that he was killed in action. And the reason why was because he was an electrician and he had gone to another ship to do some work. And while he was on that ship, the ship that he belonged to went down. And so did all of his identification and everything else. So it took him a long time to get back into the system, prove who he was. And I can't quite imagine seeing your son walk back to the front door. This is before email and texting and cell phones. It was just an amazing day for my family when he showed back up. And sometimes people think I'm the only one in my family that served, but I have 2 sisters and a brother, and one sister was in the Army Reserve. My brother was in the Army as an infantryman while I was a cadet at West Point. So I'm very proud of their service as well. They did join around the same time or after me, so I like to say I influenced them, even though maybe I didn't, but I like to claim it. So, but I will claim having stayed in for almost 3 decades. And at the time that I retired, I had a niece in the Air Force, a nephew in the Marines. Hoorah again to my Marine friends. By the way, Chaplain, thank you very much for your prayer, and thank you for wearing those red socks. Hoorah. But my nephew was in the Marines, and then I had another nephew in the Army. And so I kind of was, Aunt Becky's work is done, and I retired in 2008. But above and beyond our family serving is also our community. The people that I'm sitting there with in that picture, that gentleman, he was a veteran of the Battle of the Bulge. And they were my first babysitters. They babysat me when I was 1 year old. My parents went off on a church weekend, and they said, she's too young. She's only like 6 months old. You need to leave her with us. And so I went to spend the weekend with them. And Jean Cornett, she is still alive today. I've gotten a birthday card for 61 years every year, like clockwork from her. But I was visiting them for their 75th wedding anniversary. And Jean Cornett came up to me and she says, we saw on TV the other night where one of Leo's friends from the Battle of the Bulge, who was also a POW, he received the POW award. And I said, well, that took a long time. And she said, yes, but Leo has never received one. Well, at that moment, I was on marching orders. There was no way that he was going to go without a POW medal. But believe it or not, well, you'll believe it if you're in the military with the bureaucracy, but it took 6 months to get his POW award. And I had every piece of everything. We had his number. We had photographs. We had, the letter from the president giving him the extra 50 cents a day for the days that they were incarcerated. I mean, we had everything, but it just took quite a while. But that is a picture of his POW award with his name inscribed on the back of it. And he had Alzheimer's pretty badly at the time that we presented it to him. But Jean believes to this day that he knew that was his General Becky, and his eyes just lit up. And so she looks at that picture and his award every day. And, this is what happens, right? Our community has a great influence on us as well. And I think it also has a great influence on why we continue to serve, because we do it for each other, right? So it's a journey. We're all on a journey. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk to you about my 27-year journey. I know my time frame, but I just like to show the pictures, because the journey, sometimes when we're in the military, we think the journey is just the military. But I know, and that it continues. It continues to the day that you graduate, right? And so, but for me, that journey just consisted of so many wonderful relationships. 27 years, 18 moves, just a whole lot of friends. And those friends come in every rank. I love the day I retired and I told my driver, Sergeant Marshall, hey, Chris, you can call me Becky. All right, Becky, good. And he didn't hesitate, right? And I think that's because soldiering is a matter of the heart. And we go through so much together, and we're so willing to do so much for each other. And so I know that Rock sported my book. Look, here's the joke in our family. My family says they can't believe I wrote a book since I have read so few. Okay, but after I retired, I love to tell stories, and I love people, and I love leadership, and I was compelled in many ways to just sit down and write about some of those stories so that I could share them with other people. And it kind of boiled down to a few simple principles and whatever, but I'm not going to go through all that either. But I do want to say that leadership's a choice. And so for all of you who have chosen to lead and to lead yourself, thank you for doing that. And if you're serving, you're leading. And so I really, really appreciate that. And because it starts with us as individuals. And again, Chaplain, thank you for your prayer today. We wore our dog tags proudly. We put them over our head every single day. We recited the warrior ethos. But there are many of us who also recited the shield of faith, Joshua 1:9. That, don't be worried, don't be discouraged, don't be afraid, because wherever you go, God is with you. And that's something that just gives you the strength to navigate, right? And I learned in Iraq from a chaplain during a service who said, don't pray for the storm to go away, pray to get through the storm. And I thought, how many times in my life have I been praying for the storm to go away instead of just praying to get through it? So we have to lead ourselves first. And we have to do it with both our heart and our mind. I've worked with so many people and for so many people that are brilliant. And unfortunately, though, in some cases, they led only with their mind. And when we do that, we lose the most valuable resource, the human dimension. We aren't able to retain the best. And this is in the corporate world as well as in the military. We have to lead with both. And when we lead with both, we're going to struggle. But that struggle is good because that means we are using both. It's about our character and our competence. And that's Sergeant Marshall right there, by the way, old Chris. But he was my driver at Fort Drum when Rock and I were there, Time to Glory. And then he went off and I went off. And he came back from Afghanistan and called me and said, I understand you need a driver again. And I said, I do. And he says, great, I'm coming to Germany to be your driver. And I said, not so quick. It's like, I know you just got back from Afghanistan and I'm headed to Iraq. He says, oh no, ma'am, I know that. I already know that. Sergeant Major already told me that. That's what Sergeant Majors do. He says, but I'm coming up there to Germany and I'm going to war with you. And I said, well, what does Carrie think about that? You know, his wife and kids. She's loving it because she can't wait to live in Germany. I said, okay. So that's Sergeant Marshall and I in Iraq on Christmas Day. You know, and I just really believe that what we do, soldiers, Marines, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, leaders, we create hope. We create hope for people individually. We create hope for our nation. We create hope for other nations. You know, when you hear Rock Donahue say, in just his family alone, 15 different deployments, think of all the lives that they touched during those deployments. Not just lives over in Iraq and Afghanistan, and maybe some of those were Syria, I'm not sure, but also they created hope for people back in the United States who saw them rise above all those occasions and lead themselves through all those struggles. So that's what we do. We create hope. And the other picture is just, you know, there's a lot of collateral damage in the business that we do. But in all cases, we try to do our very best to minimize that and to embrace the civilians on the battle space. And that's just a picture. That picture is of a little boy named Omar and his father. And, you know, there were a few things I tried to make sure in my personal battle rhythm that I did all the time throughout Iraq. Number one was go to chapel on Sunday and to visit anybody that I could visit in the hospital there at Balad, where my headquarters was. And part of that visitation wasn't just to visit my soldiers and the Marines and the airmen and all. It was also to visit, those poor civilians that also were caught up in all of it, and just encourage them. And then to remember them in my prayers as I go through my life, because who knows where they are now, what they're doing. But we, in the end, try to make a positive impact on the missions that we serve and do. So last but not least, we're out here to try to make a difference and to lead with purpose and to really go beyond success and just be significant. Do something that makes a difference in someone else's life, not just our life. And part of doing that is leaving a legacy. It's just looking around and going, wow, I had some small part in that person's journey. And I know that I'm the legacy of many wonderful people. And I know that in just this service to nation that have had the opportunity to touch others. So I just want to finish with, if I could give you a big hug like I'm giving that warrant officer before put him on a plane and send him back to the United States, or I could say thank you like I am to that the Iraqi colonel in person. I'm just say to you in person, thank you for serving, thank you for caring, thank you for supporting those who serve, because I know there's a lot of community members that are listening. And have a very blessed Veterans Day, and may we continue to just give God the glory, and God bless America. Thanks a lot, Rock. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you very much for that inspiring message, your friendship, your testimony. That was really tremendous. Thank you for being with us here today. Now, if you were here in person, you'd receive from me the coveted GMC Atlanta Metropolitan Region Certificate of Appreciation for Inspired Servant Leadership and Veteran Service. But in all seriousness, you'd also receive a coin from President Colwell. We've got a few other tokens that we're going to put in the mail to you here shortly. But again, thank you, ma'am, for your testimony,
Thank you.
friendship, and support through all the years. It's very special means a tremendous amount to me. And as I said, we spent the last couple of months going through your book 24/7. And so thanks for reinforcing all those positive messages. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude our ceremony this afternoon, we can recall that there are three things that we can do with our life. We can waste it, we can spend it, or we can invest it. And I would offer that the worst thing that we could do is simply live for today and to live for ourselves. At Georgia Military College, we believe our community, this state, and indeed this nation, the men and women of character like General Halstead and the veterans that we honored today, who are grounded in GMC's core values of duty, honor, and country, and whose lives are invested in something that will outlast them, a life of selfless service in all professions, in all callings. To that end, everything we do at Georgia Military College here in the Atlanta metropolitan region promotes our purpose to accomplish the GMC mission through values-based academic centers of excellence, serving our communities and equipping all college and career-ready students to succeed in a very competitive global society, and most importantly, to ensure that they can start here and go anywhere. We take great pride in how far the Atlanta metropolitan region has already come, and we have strong faith in how far we can go together. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, if you are able, I'd ask you to please stand for the benediction provided by Antonio Cummings.
Let us pray. Father, thank you for this time coming together. Thank you for those who participated in this special occasion as we honor our veterans. Thank you for the speaker, Brigadier General Halstead, for giving us some inspiring words of what it means to lead and to serve. To all those families that are represented by those fallen comrades, to those veterans that are still here, thank you for your service. As we go throughout the rest of the day, let us remember when we were serving, what it meant to stand for something, because we are still here. Now breathe upon every veteran as they go back to their families, as they go back to their homes. Let them carry that honor, that pride of what it meant to serve, and understand what it means to lead, knowing that we will carry that with us for the rest of our lives. So now we thank you for Georgia Military College. We thank you for Director Rock. We thank you for the staff, the faculty that set this occasion up. But we will always remember what it means to lead. We will always remember what it is to serve. And God, you are always present to lead us in those dark times, in those challenging times. And we will never turn from and astray. Thank you. In Jesus' name it is so. Amen.
Retire the colors.
On guard. Up, Chad. Up. Raise that. Up. Order. Up. Ready. Up.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our virtual 2020 Veterans Day recognition ceremony. Thank you again for attending today's event and for making this such a memorable occasion. Character above all.